Hello guys, Mahlatse Dumelang. This is the much anticipated interview we've been talking about. We are very excited. My team is very excited. As you remember in the last short video we posted, we spoke about how we're going to interview a young lady, and she's just got so much academic achievements and accolades. But before you even dive into that, let me just try and, get her to introduce herself, and then we can talk more about her upbringing and so forth.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Mahlatse Lebelo. He did give an intro of me in it was a 2-minute video. But essentially
5 minutes actually.
But this is me. I am a trainee chartered accountant. Currently, I am training outside of public practice, particularly at a bank. And I'm a proud UJ alumni. I did both my undergrad and honors there. But as he said, that we will delve into more of my upbringing and my journey, as the podcast progresses. But yeah, otherwise that's just me.
Yeah, I think most of the time we tend to see an end product. You see someone there, whether well accomplished or they get in there, but you kind of like don't know how they grew up. So it'd be so interesting for us to get a feel of where did you grow up? So what does a 5 to 10 year old Mahlatse in Lebowakgomo looks like? And where about this Lebowakgomo? Was it a township life or ke magae?
Okay. So, ke Mopedi Tui.
Mopedi Tui.
Yeah, langkwishisha. Ke Mopedi, ke tswa Limpopo Lebowakgomo, as you've said, and it's a township. So, mo ke tswang, where there's, where iling magaeng thing.
Yeah.
But I am from a township specifically. I did not, however, go to school at Lebowakgomo. So I schooled in Polokwane.
Interesting. Why would you not have went to school in Lebowakgomo, if I may ask?
So obviously it wasn't my choice.
Oh, your parents.
It was my parents' choice. Yeah. And I think, in my personal opinion, who I am now, that kind of worked in my favor.
In what sense?
Cause I had to travel every day from Lebowakgomo to Polokwane.
Yeah.
So from the age of 5, my parents had put me into a transport. So you can imagine.
That's sort of like give you like a bit of responsibility to look after yourself.
Yes,
interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at 4:30 every day in the morning, I was up by then. 5:30, I'm out and I'm waiting for my transport.
Yeah.
To pick me up from home. And then it was a 1-hour drive from Lebowakgomo to school, because obviously there were other kids that were being picked up in the township.
Going to the same school.
Going to the same or different schools in Polokwane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how my upbringing was like. At that point, I was too young, and I thought that my parents were like, making me suffer for waking up that early.
Yeah.
But as I grew up, I learned that, that was the best possible way they could have taught me how to be responsible from a very young age.
I never look at it like that way, but now I see.
Yeah.
I see the angle.
Yeah, because as a child, utamaka transport, that's so far away. You need to be there to wait for your transport because you don't have any other transport to take you.
Look after your stuff also.
You need to look up after your stuff. You need to make sure that, okay, your bag is packed, your uniform is together.
Yeah.
And that you've not lost anything, because also, I wouldn't say my parents were well off.
Yeah.
So them creating like an opportunity for me to go to school in Polokwane was a big thing as well.
I can imagine. I was actually going to ask you about the stigma of you living in a township, people in the township who can't afford that, and you seem to move from Kasi every morning and this. Well, what school was it? The name of it, if you don't mind.
So I went to different schools.
So you're just hoping like.
Yeah, no, not because of my behavior or anything.
Yeah.
Just to put a disclaimer out there. It wasn't because of that, but, at some point I lived with my sister, like in Klerksdorp, Northwest as well. You know, because my mom had moved jobs.
Yeah.
So I moved around because of circumstances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When were you in Northwest? So you've moved from Lebowakgomo.
Yeah.
And then you go and then live in Klerksdorp.
Yes.
At what age then was that?
So I was in grade 3. At that point, I was 8 years old. Yeah, I was 8 years old. And then I went back to Polokwane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I started off in private schools and then eventually ended up at a public school. That was my high school. So I went to high school.
Which school is this?
It's what's called Waterland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's Afrikaans, you may be, back then African schools, they're much organized than a public school in a township, if we become honest. It wasn't like that?
I mean, I wouldn't know because I've never schooled in a township, so I can't even compare.
No, in terms of resources, you can
experience. See. Yes. But in terms of resources, obviously, the fact that I was in Polokwane, if not, most, if not all schools in Polokwane were resourceful. I was taught English, home language in English, you know, unlike other schools where you find that they teach English in their home language. You know?
Yeah, like I've been through that.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
West, it wasn't even a township. It was like Komacheng.
Yeah.
And I think also the teacher, it's not a thing of like they lazy to do it. They just trying to meet the kids halfway.
That's true.
But hopefully I think things do change as time goes by. And then, where did you do your high school then? And your transition to high school, and you now, at that time, have you figured out what you want to become?
No. So another thing that I have to speak on is that I was promoted twice.
Promoted?
Yes. So there are grades that I've skipped. Like I did not do grade 5 at all. I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I went straight from grade 4 to grade 6. Yeah.
When was this? And like, how did it happen?
Okay. So at the school that I was in, it was a private school. So at the school that I was in, at that point, we would do like, IQ tests every year. So at the beginning of the term, they would test you and then your scores would come back and give a certain result. So I didn't expect to be promoted, honestly, but it happened. And
you just get a call that you're moving to the next grade, just like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then so what subjects were you doing at the time?
So in grade 4, obviously we did not pick, specific, subjects or a specific stream of subjects, you know, we were just doing was it life skills, natural science, Bible, because it was a Christian school. So yeah, and then in high school, I chose a stream that I thought would give me more options when I was applying in university, because at that point I didn't know what I wanted.
That's very smart to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So in high school, I did pure maths, life science, physical science, and accounting.
I think you remind exactly of what I said to my daughter. So she's in grade 10 when she was picking subjects. Like she just wanted to push for being like a lawyer. But I said to her, things change. You might decide otherwise some other time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So she's got a good blend of accounting, business, history, physics, maths. I think with the languages as well, which is exactly what you did. And then at a later stage when you find out exactly what you want to do, you kind of like have options of, okay, I think this is where I'm going to start to lean. Yeah. But how did you do that? Was it because somebody consciously told you that, or it was a thing of you were aware that that's possible?
Okay, so I wouldn't say I was aware, because obviously I was young.
Yeah.
I was the youngest in my high school, in my grade because I matriculated when I was 16.
16?
Yes. So I was quite young.
Oh, you were very young for matric at the time.
I was quite young, and my parents took the effort to take me to an educational psychologist for me to decide like what would be the best career for me.
Based on your personality,
based on my personality
your academics,
and IQ, they test a lot of things.
Yeah.
So when my results came, at that point I was in grade 9, I think, not 10. When my results came, it showed that I would be a lot more successful in accounting.
But at the
time, yeah. But at the time, I wanted to be a doctor because, like, so I see there's only like 2-3 careers
doctors,
that you even know about, that you even hear about from Batswadi. Like, you must be a doctor. That's what they always push for. Or you must be a lawyer.
Absolutely.
They don't even know, like, what accountants do or what the difference is between an accountant and a chartered accountant.
Yeah.
And there is a difference.
Sure.
So they didn't know any of that. And I appreciated the effort because I actually am in accounting now, although it's not something that I wanted initially.
Yeah.
And that's what choosing the subject stream I did helped with.
Yeah.
Because if I did want to continue and pursue medicine or something else in sciences, I could have done that.
You could have done it easily.
And accounting was still there as well for me to also pursue if I wanted to do it.
So was there things like career guidance as well that you were doing at your high school at that time? Because from Kumachai, most of the time, we find that there's a lack of that. There's a gap of kids knowing exactly what they can become. They just pick because maybe friends are picking a particular career, or this seems to be like the common thing, and then you pick it.
Absolutely. I'm not sure if they still do it now, but we did have a career guidance and even alumni from the high school that came to talk to us.
That will come and talk to you,
Yeah, and tell us, okay, what they're doing.
Beautiful.
How they've made those choices.
Yeah.
And the benefits of like different career options, that they have. So I don't know if that's still being done now, but I do understand that also like schools in suburban areas and schools in townships, they're different in terms of resources.
Absolutely.
You know, like usually when someone makes it out the hood and they're like in Joburg, for example, they never want to go back to that place or revisit that place, and they forget that there's a child that's like them there that would appreciate them coming to speak to them to motivate them.
Absolutely. I think we need to play it forward where people who accomplish either in their career, especially if it's like your scarce careers, you have a responsibility, I think, to play it forward and just, like the same alumni you're talking about, going to schools and talking to kids about what options are there. That goes a long way to help one kid or two at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always say that, like, it doesn't matter that other people view that change as insignificant.
Right.
As long as it's changed a life, like that matters the most.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you finish your matric, assume like with good marks. How do you happen to be at UJ and you are just met now you've been to Lebowakgomo and then you go to Klerksdorp. Now you're in a big city. How was that like for you?
Okay, so I want to now revisit now the story of my university.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not initially start at UJ. So I started at the University of Limpopo. Part of the reason was because I was
proximity to parents or?
Yes, proximity to parents. It was closer to home.
Yeah.
Because you can imagine now I'm 17 years old doing my first year. they were uncomfortable with me going to places like Joburg at that age.
Sure.
So yeah, I did my first year at the University of
Limpopo. You were at University of Limpopo. How old were you now?
I had just turned 17 in my first year. Yeah.
And normally like it's 19, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, as a parent yourself, you would have been like,
I would have thought about it. But yeah. Sometimes I guess also like the headspace. Maybe they were just being too overprotective of the fact that you're still young. But from the fact that you've grown up to be at some point you inflex point they were not there, I think we were ready for it. That's just me. Yeah. Then how do you move then from
okay. Now I'm going to talk about the stigma of how is it like being from a township and going to maybe schools in Polokwane, because it's also related to the kind of experience I had at the University of Limpopo. Not to bash the university or anything like that. It's my own personal experience. I was perceived as a snob. Because
in that environment,
environment.
Because it's a black university. I would see that. Sure.
Yeah. And I had a similar upbringing as well, where there were kids that would look at me and hear me speak English. They can't articulate like how I do at that point in time, right?
And we're young, and you're far ahead.
Yes. So now it was a thing of, oh, this girl. Hey.
Le model C.
Hey, Le model C. Who does she think she is, you know? So yeah, I had a similar experience at UL, because obviously I would say English is more of a default for me than Spedi is, you know.
Tell me, is UL TEFLOP or?
Yes.
Or so TEF is it a campus or that's what they call?
TEFLOP is the place where the university is located.
Okay.
Yes, that's TEFLOP. It's the only university there. It's the only campus there.
Okay. No, I get it now.
So that's why. Yeah.
No, I get it from Scheme Sam. I get it. They talk a lot about TEFLOP. So I'm thinking, is it like the same university when you say UL?
Yes.
Which is?
Yes.
From what you're saying, yeah.
Yes. So
you were doing accounting first year at TEFLOP, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I enrolled for BCom accounting.
Yeah.
At UL. At that point, I didn't know that there was a difference between BCom accounting and Bachelor of Accounting Sciences. I thought it was one and the same thing.
You know,
I was applying directly into the Chartered Accounting stream.
But wait, at that time,
yeah,
were you now cognizant that, because there's people who just do an accounting degree, but they don't have ambitions of saying, I'm going to end up being a CA. When you were doing that, in your mind, was it that I'm going to end up being a CA at that time?
No.
Or you were just rocking you're doing accounting, you want to be an accountant?
Yes, I want to be an accountant. I did not.
That's very common.
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes back to me saying that, there's not enough information, I'd say, for kids in high schools, for them to learn and know about what options they have and what could they possibly choose as careers.
Yeah.
Because it's honestly not as easy as saying, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. Because there are currently doctors that are unemployed, so now we can't only look at those factors.
Absolutely.
Where, you just want the name or the title doctor. You have to look at employability. You have to think of things like, what if you're the first graduate in your family and you're now being given the pressure to break those circumstances. You have to think of those things.
Yeah.
And how your family won't now support you when you do become unemployed.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think that's why also you get kids from vets, UCT, tax in certain courses. They prioritize in graduate programs. If you go to these big banks, you get there. I think UJ is also featured there. But any other university outside that, But also I've seen also, University of the Northwest, I think, your Stellenbosch, they get like preference kids from there than any other university, which becomes unfair to your point.
Yes.
So a kid who spent 4 years at, let's say at TEF, and
absolutely.
when you look at the two kids, you decide to pick a Vetsio as opposed to the other one. It's sad reality. And it's something that I think needs to be challenged and changed as to how, I don't know.
Yeah, but you know, after UL, okay, so now I'm there at UL. I am clearly not fitting in because apparently
in your first year, right?
Yes, in my first year, because apparently I'm a snob. The environment for me was...
So you can't even make friends. You can't mingle. You can't.
Yeah, it was difficult for me to make friends at that point because now everyone is just looking at me like this girl who's speaking English like this.
Oh, probably so.
Yeah, like ukitira moto, you know. So it was that kind of mentality and mindset, and also the environment you don't get enough exposure.
Yeah.
At UL, you know, not to bash the university or anything, but now this also leads to why or how I ended up at UJ. So in my first year of being at UL, I realized that, you know what, I'm not going to get where I want to be if I stay or if I complete my degree here. And that's why I transferred to UJ in my second year.
Before you talk about transition to UJ, I want to talk about the flip side of what you went through.
Okay.
You know, there's a kid who comes from a rural area. They've just pushed like academics, good marks. They get to tax and then they crash. It's the opposite to what you were getting at TEF, right? The environment is too much for them. They can't adjust to being around like a white environment where, you know, it's everywhere. They can't find themselves there. They crash. You either drop out or you end up looking for another university. That is also another reality.
Yes, that is very true. And then it makes you think that what are our schools like then? You know?
Yeah.
Because aren't they supposed to prepare us for that kind of environment? You know?
Yeah, they should. But how
it's difficult.
Where do you meet a white lecturer or teacher?
Exactly.
Right?
You don't even
Where do you mingle with whites? Where
English.
do you,
like even English is not taught in English.
You can't raise your hand and ask a question.
You know, you don't even have the confidence.
You don't have the confidence to get there.
Yeah, now that goes back to what I was saying about it being my parents making the best decision to take me to school in Polokwane as opposed to a school in Lebowakgomo.
Absolutely.
People may have had different experiences. Like I said, this is my own personal experience.
It is what it is.
And it was the best for me in particular because I wouldn't say I was flourishing at UL. I started flourishing when I got to UJ.
You lie.
Yeah.
Because there was just so much going around. So you get to UJ. How do you feel like when you get there?
Okay.
Are there any people that you know already who are there that you can plug into? Or now you have to start like friendships and everything from scratch?
Okay. So before I get to that, I just, for the viewers or any other student that could be watching this that's at UL or any other university that wants to transfer, this is the process that I had to go through. So for the course that you're currently studying, you need to go to the faculty and ask for a syllabus, right? That syllabus is what you'll take to once you get acceptance at the university that you intend on continuing at, right? At UJ in particular, I had to go to each lecturer who taught that specific module that I did in my first year at UL for them to approve and sign off whether it was according to
or giving you sort of credits. Yeah.
So that's how I got credited because I didn't start from first year while I was at UJ.
That is very
I
true.
continued from second year and finished my degree record time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know that there's also universities which are not Saica accredited? So if you go to that university, for you to become a CA, you have to either move to another university or there's stuff that you need to do for you to be there, and you can start to do it.
Yeah.
Which is also a challenge. I think kids have to know that.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't know which universities aren't or are accredited, but I think there is a way that you can verify that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's on the Saica website or what. I don't know.
But even ask the university themselves.
Yeah.
Is it Saica accredited?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can ask anybody from the university, whether that course is Saica accredited.
There's a classic example recently, where UNISA had refs with Saica in terms of their program. I don't know how far they are now with sorting that out. But Saica was like, they were having a bit of like, backs and forth in terms of whether UNISA should continue to be part of Saica accredited or not. Whether that's still the case, I don't know.
Yeah, I also don't know. But, that was caused by the IAC or like first board exam results.
As did.
UNISA usually has the lowest pass rates.
I can imagine.
So now.
Because it's working people and then they're trying to juggle.
So it was from that lens.
Okay.
Sure. Last I checked.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if that's still going on or what, but you should do the verification yourself and ask whether the course that you want to study there, if it's related to becoming a chartered accountant, you need to verify if it's Saica accredited.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you find yourself at UJ. What do you like most now about it?
Okay. So there were people that I met that were from Lebowakgomo.
Yeah.
But I didn't know them before. I met them at the university. And unfortunately, we were doing the same course.
The same course, yeah.
Yes.
So that's sort of like, it's a bridge for you to get in.
Yes, it was a bridge for me to get in. Now I'm at UJ. I can speak English without being looked at weirdly.
You're becoming yourself.
Yeah. Like without anybody telling me, oh, hey, who do you think you are? Or yeah, I got out of my shell. And that's when I started to flourish.
Imagine. Yeah.
That's when I started to flourish because the environment was conducive for me to be myself. Yeah. So that's how it went.
So you did your BCom and then honors at UJ?
Yes. I did both my postgrad and undergrad at UJ.
Nicely. And then cum laude. How do you get to, okay, I'm asking cum laude because how do you get to be what is this, golden key member?
Okay.
Is it based on academics or it's like leadership or?
So it is based on academics.
Purely academics. Yeah.
Yeah, it is based on academics. Golden key is like the top 15% of is it your faculty or your degree? Something like that.
Yeah. But it's not limited to accounting. Like it's a whole lot of, you may be in engineering and being part of it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's across every course.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how it goes. I am a member.
You're a member meaning
I'm a golden key member.
So you become a member for life, or how does it work?
Yes. So it's lifetime membership.
Beautiful. I think it's something that can also open up opportunities for you. Because in every interview where you go to, you have to weigh that in.
Yes.
You have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
They must know that if you're interviewing the next kid who doesn't have it, we just spoke to a candidate who has it. you know that type of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really helps. I mean, if you're a student and you're watching this video, like, bag those distinctions in your undergrad because it's going to be very difficult in postgrad. Not to discourage anyone.
Yeah. And competitive as well.
Yeah, not to discourage anyone, but if you're in the CA stream specifically, I think everybody has heard how hard CTA is or postgraduate in accounting science is. And it's the truth. They are not exaggerating. I've experienced it, so I know. But it is
and expensive at the same time.
And it is expensive, but it is possible to also be a top student in that degree. So what I'm saying shouldn't scare you or discourage you into becoming the top student. But it should rather prepare you for what lies ahead. So if you know that, okay, this degree is difficult, start preparing for it in your third year already. Like, make sure that your understanding is on par. Because they build on those principles from third year all the way to CTA. And in CTA, they won't revisit, any of those topics from a high level like they did in undergrad.
Beautiful.
So just prepare from undergrad for CTA specifically. And you know what? If you're not getting the marks that you used to get in undergrad, in CTA, that's also okay.
I think it's still okay.
It doesn't mean you're dumb or no. It does not change you as an individual. You're still that intelligent person that you are. If you got cum laude, you still that person that got cum laude, and you're very capable of, beating CTA first time, record time. And if you don't beat it record time, that's also okay. Because you know what? Once you're a CA, no one will ask you how many times you
fail. Same as like what we do in Zima. You fail forever, bro. And it's not even as stringent as what your stream is, where, you have to finish in a specific time. I've been doing Zima forever and juggling it between like Spanish and that. I could spend a year, have written only one subject, and I'm cool with it because the goal is, eventually you're gonna get there. That's very flexible.
That's very true. That's very true. I felt like it's important for me to say that because there is a lot of noise around how CTA is hard, or becoming a chartered accountant is hard. And it's true because the journey is quite long.
You have to put in the work. I think the rewards also, because it also goes with what you're getting out of it.
Absolutely.
Imagine if it was easy for you to get it. Then it means it's not prestigious anymore. Anyone can get it. Then if everyone can get it, then why must it, reward you more and set you apart compared to someone who doesn't have it?
Absolutely. So to become a chartered accountant, let me just explain the journey so that other viewers who aren't familiar with the stream understand what it takes. So you have to do a 3-year or a 4-year degree. It depends on which institution you're at. Bachelor of Accounting Science or BCom Accounting Sciences, at a university. So it's either 3 years or 4 years. Like I said, depending on the university, and then 1 year of honors, which can become 2. Very common. But don't feel discouraged if it does become 2 years, or if your years become an extension, Then from there, you do 3 years of articles. We call them articles, but it's training at a training office. So that training office needs to be registered, like a registered training office under Saica. Okay. Then from within the 3 years, you gain competencies that you document every month, as you are working or training. And then those competencies will be reviewed by your reviewer, your assigned reviewer or assessor, right? And then, at the end of the 3 years, now all those competencies you should have ticked off, and you should have worked like a minimum of 3,500 hours, I think.
3,500. What does that equate to? Because for CIMA, they're very specific. You should have worked for 3 years.
Okay.
And have done like accounting work.
Okay. So for us, it's not necessarily as specific as CIMA. I'd say, it's not, they don't put it in a bucket and say this type of work, because obviously they're different training programs.
Very true.
There's training in retail. You can train at ShopRite, you can train at Tiger Brands. And I'm training at a bank.
Yeah.
You know, others do audit firms.
I get you.
So it's different skills that you learn, different competencies that you get from each training office, but that they will all ultimately land you in a CA,
irrespective
of whichever it is.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's the journey. It sounds long because it is long.
But I have a question. Besides academics, what else are you doing at UJ? Are you playing sports? Are you doing student politics? Or you just like, I just want to get into this thing and do it and finish it?
No. So at UJ, I was a tutor.
Oh, interesting.
I tutored undergrad for 3 years, but it was different modules.
Yeah.
So I tutored governance or auditing for 2nd years. And
I hated auditing.
Yeah.
So I was probably, if I was your age group, I was probably going to be in one of your people that you tutor.
So it's open to all students. I was a tutor. I was employed by UJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they were giving you like stipends.
Yes.
Was it good money though?
Yeah, for a student, hey? Like, it was enough.
Yeah.
More than enough, actually. Then I also tutored cost management, accounting, and finance.
My favorite.
Yeah, for 2 years.
Okay. So then, how do you find yourself now in this prestigious bank that you're talking about? Do they come to you, approach you, or what happened?
Okay, so at UJ, I was also part of the Golden Key Executive Committee at some point.
Yeah.
And I would say those things helped in me in my applications specifically.
They always do, hey?
Yeah.
They always do.
100%.
You gotta do, I think, I always say if there's 2 candidates, if I'm hiring and there are 2 candidates, and there's a candidate who portrayed to have done certain things, and the other one was just like, I want to get this degree. They don't do anything besides that. An employer is more inclined to go for the one who was either in some committee, even if it's catering committee or organizing, whatever the case may be. You as a student, you have to find something. Even sport, it does help because you show that you can interact. You can work well with others. But if you don't have that, unfortunately, it gives you the back foot.
Absolutely. And I also did I code. Yeah. I did a coding course.
You code?
Yes, I code.
And I counted the codes. So how do you get into coding? What happened for you to get into that?
Okay, so let me just revisit that to answer the question you said about how all these things help you apply to maybe banking and stuff. I never intended on doing my training at an audit firm specifically. So after knowing that I can do my training at a bank or outside of audit, that's what I was working towards.
You know what I think though? I think you made a good choice. I find audit firms exploiting students in terms of paying. No, like for real. In terms of paying and overworking them. Like, it's not even a secret. If you go to a bank, they give you like the nice things and they put the program such that they have an understanding that you are in a Saica training program or a SEMA training program. They support you along the way.
Absolutely.
They fund your studies. They do all these things.
Absolutely.
So picking a bank was the best, I think.
For me, honestly, it was the best.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want anything else. Like,
they take them serious.
This is what I've always wanted from third year. From my third year, I just knew that, I'm going to work towards getting here. And maybe also that's also why I was involved in these committees and because it's a very competitive space.
Yeah.
The common theme amongst banking is that it's difficult to get in.
It is.
It is difficult to get in.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole lot of assessments that you need to take, and they want
to make sure
few people,
yeah.
like only a few people get selected for specific programs, especially graduate programs. So you need to be worth it.
I think also the culture fit. They spend a lot of time looking at, is she gonna fit into the culture here? I mean, some banks are very entrepreneurial. Some are more family-like. But yeah, I think you still made the right choice. Do they get you to like rotate in different divisions? Because that also helps you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we do rotate in different divisions. I don't know, like how, your training plan is set up.
Yeah.
Specifically, but we do rotate in different divisions.
Beautiful.
They do afford you some autonomy as to which division you could possibly rotate in under.
Yeah.
And this is obviously based on you and your performance and how you've been. Yeah.
But the rotating thing, also why I like it. So if there's, let's say there's 4 divisions. One is you're looking at corporate, let's say CIB. The other one you're looking at, investments. You also get exposed to the things that you like, the portions that you like in a bank where you might end up, because you may be a CA, but you want to work in mergers and acquisitions.
Absolutely.
And if you've been exposed to that, you can actually motivate and say, actually, after my rotation, look for opportunities in that specific division. So I like it how they do it all as well.
Absolutely.
In that sense.
So like me, I'm a tech enthusiast. Ever since I learned how to code, I enjoy it. I
see you going into data analytics space.
Yes. So I want to be a CA in tech, eventually at some point. But obviously now I'm still also experiencing the bank holistically. I'm not set myself for a specific division, or I'm not looking at a specific division.
Because data is data. You can do it anywhere.
Yes, you can do it anywhere. And the reason why I started to code is because I know that that's where we're going. And it's actually a very valuable skill.
It is.
In the bank. So I needed to differentiate myself amongst other candidates.
You know, I like like how you do it. You know, what we hear every day is the fact that AI and process automations, and we've seen, you no longer have like bookkeeping in big corporate, somebody sitting and doing bookkeeping. You no longer have people in certain companies doing account receivable and account payables. Those things are done by AI, like literally. You just patch in the information or the system absorb the data, and you just need one person to overlook and make sure that everything is running smoothly. So if AI is going to chow accounting and you are doing coding and mixing with accounting, I think you are a gem in my mind, because it means then there's no way that you'll sit without being unemployable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So right now, literally every employer now is looking for someone who is tech savvy.
Absolutely.
You know, if you are, for example, you could even apply for a specific role, but still have, for example, Power BI as a skill.
Yeah.
Although it's outside of your role. Between a person that can use Power BI and someone who doesn't have the skill, like they would obviously choose the person who knows how to use those tools to analyze data, because eventually they can also place them anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like they can give them tasks and say, do this.
I'm also pro using data analytics tools. I've intentionally also learned the skills myself. I've gotten into teams where people are working in Excel and You are pulling data from different sources. You are measuring like
And collating, yeah.
And I'm thinking like, guys, we in 2025. Bring that data. Let's put it into one thing and create dashboards. Takes you 5 minutes to refresh. Your data is up there. You can make informed decisions.
Yes.
With less errors into.
Absolutely.
As long as like your formulas make sense and.
Absolutely.
And if it doesn't, you can go back and correct it.
You can.
Yeah.
And you have more time to analyze now, and check for errors as opposed to like taking so much time collating.
Yeah.
That you are also making mistakes.
Yeah. So in where I am, I spend it a lot of time also looking at where the risks could be. So things that could come wrong. I find it very good there. I find it also good like informing you, are you hitting your KPIs? Are you hitting your numbers? So it's also very, 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 very important, like if you in an accounting space, to your point, to have that kind of knowledge, because then it sets you apart. If I can do that, it means I can add value and I'm more employable than another candidate who might have the very same qualification as mine, but they don't have that skill.
Also, it also shows the interviewer, your recruiter or employer that you are like keen on learning.
Absolutely.
You know? And they always want that.
Very true.
You need to be interested in certain things, although they're even outside of your field specifically, but the fact that you are willing to learn is a big thing, especially amongst graduates.
Absolutely.
So I use that as a way to set me apart when I was applying. I've been coding for 2 years, 3. Not 2.
Do you learn yourself, or do you learn like on yourself, or you join a program that teach you how to code?
So,
cause I'm like, my friend is doing it on, I think it's Coursera or something.
Yes. Those platforms are really helpful in teaching you these skills. You can do them for free, even, you know?
I've done it, but I was not using it. And then I ended up forgetting it. I used to like learn how to join, those join and whatever. Those common terms. I ended up giving up because I was not using it. So I get into a company where they're very strict about allowing you access to certain data. Power BI are very flexible to that. But if you want to code, they just see you as a risk. You might code to take money outside their bank accounts.
That's fine, you know, as long as you have the skill sitting still there, you can always go back and try and learn again, you know. Yeah.
Okay, we'll combine and join and all these things.
So I used platforms like Solo Learn, Coursera. I listen to do these courses for me to learn how to code.
Over and above you being a Saica trainee.
Okay, so I started coding when I was still a student.
Oh, way before.
Yeah, way before. I started coding.
So you must be advanced. Do you do that like in your day-to-day job?
No, I don't necessarily do. I do code in my current rotation. I'd say there's like a bit of coding there. But I wouldn't say I do it on a daily. Especially because now there's like things like ChatGPT that can do the work for you.
Absolutely.
Microsoft Copilot. But I would say though that
Copilot is good. I saw it on Power BI,
So if you want to use those platforms to code for you, you must at least have knowledge on what they're doing, because obviously you need to teach ChatGPT what you want.
What you want it to do for you.
Yes, what you want it to do for you. So.
Yeah, get that.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. We've been talking forever. And what is it I also wanted to ask you, the last thing? What does your future look like? Like,
besides me being a CA?
No, you're going to be a CA and then you're a CA. Like what do you think? Because I know you do a lot of mentorship to other girls. I know that you run a foundation. I don't know if it's part of that. Maybe you can touch on that.
Okay.
And do you see yourself like becoming an entrepreneur, or you just want to be a corporate girl where one day you'll be a finance director or a CEO in one of the biggest banks?
Okay.
What's your ultimate job?
My ultimate dream job. Yo.
Can I guess?
Job, yes.
I think you're going to end up doing things on you. Like you're going to end up designing products, accounting product, for the fact that you can code and you know the technical accounting. It makes it very easy for you to design a product without having to ask anyone.
Absolutely. Okay. So I wouldn't necessarily say I have an ultimate dream job.
Yeah.
But I do eventually want to be in C-suite somewhere as a chief what, you know?
You also look the part. I mean, right?
I want to get to that point, but I think what drives me mostly is impact. So a lot of the things that I do are linked to me having an impact on
someone else.
Someone else. It's not someone, maybe it's a business, maybe like, am I being useful?
Are you adding value?
Am I adding value?
Yeah.
Yes. Am I adding value in any way? That's what drives me. I do mentor. And I do have.
Why do you want to mentor? Like, I always wonder, the people who spend so much time doing things for other people, when they could be dedicating time to themselves or their family. Why is it so important to you?
Okay. Being there for other people doesn't mean I don't dedicate some time to myself and my family.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's a lot of change that needs to happen in the world. And I can't sit back
and watch
another kid or student go through the same experience I did. Whereas I could change that.
Guide them and
yeah. So that's my consensus that like, I just don't want people to have a bad experience. And if I've had a bad experience with something, I can do something about it, I do that. Like that's basically.
I think that's very good. It goes back to your point where you're saying that we need to, especially professionals, we need to play it forward. If I wake up tomorrow, I'm a doctor, I have to take it upon myself to see more doctors coming out of my community, as opposed to me wanting to be the only doctor, and you spend time driving your 4 pipes there and thinking you're doing.
It's also a lot.
There's more you can do. You can adopt a kid. There's so many things you can do. And even if you're not loud about it, but the fact that you do it. I'm saying this because I've done it. I've done quite a bit of that myself, and it makes me feel good, at the end of the day, because I've been through where those people are. And if somebody could see potential in me and give me, an opportunity, why would I not give it to others?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, we cannot only rely on institutions and the government
and the companies.
We're always saying, yo, ANC this, and the government this, you know, like it's always a fight, but what are you doing on the ground? I know there are many schools still that have pit toilets, so they don't have tables and chairs. But when you look at the parents they're working, don't you earn a salary every month where you could just like merge it with other parents and buy tables for a school?
Or even people in the community, if there's somebody who can build proper toilets in the community
that has the skill.
Why can't you just like,
what?
Why are you waiting for a tender?
Exactly, because at the end of the day, isn't your child at that school?
Exactly. And it's not even just about your child.
Yes.
It's about building, in fact, I'm going to say this. Have you seen what the Afrikaans community is doing?
No.
They're doing exactly what we are saying Black communities don't do. They've set up these groups amongst themselves where they've been using the term, they call it, they want to self-sustain themselves. Right? Build university for schools. Build universities for our community. And do all these sorts of things that can support our community so that we
absolutely
become good and don't rely too much on on saying government is not doing things for us.
Yes.
If we could get there, I think we'll be fine.
Absolutely. Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I think Mahlatse, we can continue the conversation some other time. I had so much like good time having to interact with you. I've heard your interviews before and I thought to myself, I need to find this girl an interview here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I have something for you from the balcony dialogues.
Okay.
We've got merchandise that we are selling for 320. And yeah, just for you joining us.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
gonna have to. Hopefully, I'll see you some on socials wearing that, and just make sure you check the balcony dialogues.
Absolutely.
Guys, we out of here. It's been long. Thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you for
see you
having
on the next
me.
one.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.